Okay, guys. Hi, and today I'm going to try to do an in-depth review of this little creature here. Uh, I get asked about this very, very often when I'm doing my shows and my live streams, and so I thought, I talk a little bit about it. Uh, Non-guitarists probably have never heard of this thing or don't know what it is. Guitarists probably have heard uh, of this creature, but here we go. Yeah, this is a talk box, and this specific one here is something made by uh, a company called MXR. I believe it's owned by the Jim Dunlop company. Yeah, and MXR makes a lot of excellent products, excellent sound effects, pedals that many guitarists use, myself included. Uh, so anyway, let's go into a little bit of detail about how this talk box works. Yeah, um, it's actually a very interesting piece of science that's going on here. Um, Wow, the LED is really bright, isn't it? Yeah, so I'll just turn the LED off. Um, what happens is normally when a guitarist is playing, the normal guitar tone goes to the amplifier or to the sound reinforcing system or whatever, and you just hear the guitar that's coming out through whatever speakers have been given, yeah, or have been set up, and this is the sound of the guitar. Okay, hang on. I've got a little bit of overdrive here, but using my Telecaster, this is about a cleanish kind of a guitar tone, and you hear it as a normal guitar. Now, when a talk box is used, something interesting is being done, and I'm happy to say that it's not a digital kind of a thing that is being done by computers and all kinds of gimmicky sound processors. Uh, this is fairly like old school analog technology at play here. Okay, now so I'll let me go into the science of how it works. Yeah. Now, basically, I said that when you have a guitar being played, you would have the guitar sound coming out through an amplifier. And in the case of the talk box, what happens is instead of the sound being sent to the speakers of the amplifier, the sound is sent to a subsidiary speaker or a different speaker, and there is a tube. Haha, here we go. There is a tube that faces the speaker and then sends the signal along the tube all the way, uh, towards the mouth of the performer. Now, you're going to be asking me at this stage, hang on, isn't this like, where's the speaker? Where's the speaker? Well, here is where modern science comes into play. Instead of carrying a huge, big speaker box or speaker cabinet elsewhere, um, in the original days, yeah, I think that's what they tried to do. Yeah, they actually put a kind of a tubing in front of a real big size speaker. But now what they've done is they have a little speaker inside here. Okay, now I'm going to. There's a speaker inside here, and if I play my guitar, now normally you hear the sound coming through the guitar speaker, so to speak. Yeah. Except in my case, I'm doing it in a different kind of a way. I'm using a DI box and sending the signal straight to my computer. But to all intents and purposes, this is the sound of the guitar through the guitar, the normal guitar speaker channel. Yeah, and if I engage the talk box, the sound. Okay, here we go. Bright blue lights. Yeah, the sound now does not go to the guitar speaker. It there's a little speaker inside this thing here, and the sound comes out there. Let me play the guitar now, and you can hardly hear anything, you know, because well, this speaker is not amplified, so to speak. Yeah. Now, what happens is if you place a tube facing the speaker, right? You can see that this is like a hollow tube thingy there, and you put it facing the speaker, then the sound will obviously travel up the tube, wouldn't it? Now, at the other end of the tube, here the performer, that's me in this case, stands, and the sound now is coming out through this tube and it's coming out here. And I've got a microphone just behind here, yeah. Um, Let me play the guitar. You might be able to hear some sound in the microphone, yeah, but the tube is actually pointing in this direction and it's not pointing towards the microphone. So the sound is not so loud and it's also not so very special. Now, here's where the science of it all comes in. Yeah, the old school science. If I open my mouth in front of the tube, what's going to happen is that the sound is going to travel up the tube, bounce through the back of my throat. You know, it will sort of like fill up my throat, and then it will bounce off the back wall of my throat, and then bounce back towards towards the microphone, and you will hear a sound like this. Probably the same kind of a tone, but a little bit clearer because now, my mouth is bouncing the sound back to the microphone. But here is where things start becoming interesting. If I now move my mouth as if I'm speaking, but I don't make any sound with my mouth, it's like I pretend to be speaking, I pretend to articulate, and I move my mouth and try to pronounce some words. Like for example, I try to say hello, right? I play the guitar. I say this. I'm not saying anything. There's no sound being produced by my vocal cords, yeah. But using the tube here to send sound to my throat, you can see that the sound now changes a little bit, doesn't it? And this is, in essence, the science behind the talk box, yeah? Sound is diverted to your mouth. You move your vocal cords and your mouth and you try to create an expression. Sometimes you can pronounce certain things like an O, might sound like an O, but words themselves are not very easy to express. You might have heard some of the older recordings of famous musicians using a talk box. Yeah. Peter Frampton would be the obvious example, yeah, of the guy who started it all. And so you can hear some of the words being spoken, but you don't need to actually try to make people hear words. You can even articulate, and the sound can come out, a little bit different, like without articulation. Here we go. And now with articulation. And then now, as you start playing the guitar, and your guitar is playing a melody, you begin to move your mouth in a way that complements the melody, and you get a very interesting effect. Sort of like a wah-wah pedal, isn't it? But it's not like being controlled only in one frequency or one band or frequency spectrum. It's your mouth doing things, and you can be, as creative as you want to be, yeah. And so it's fun. I use this for all sorts of tunes, yeah, from country music. You can almost simulate the sound of a harp playing thing. Like if I was to do like hang on, you know, this kind of a country thing, and I wanted to create a sound like for example, a harp and a trainish kind of sound, and I could like. All right. So now that I've sort of like explained the science behind it, how one uses the effect pedal is all to do with one's creativity and how you imagine you want to deliver your musicality, I suppose. Yeah. Um, so now let me begin to describe the effect pedal itself, um, and maybe show you some things about this particular effect pedal, which I have been using for about 3 years now. Yeah, a little bit more than 3 years. And if any of you guys, are keen on using a wah pedal, I, it could be this or a different wah pedal. I can tell you how I use it and how this thing works, and what are the things I wish they had sort of like improved upon, yeah, in making this. But so anyway, let's start off with a simple pedal description. I've already shown you um, that there's a tube that goes in here. This is where the speaker is. This is your basic pedal unit. Very, very solidly built, yeah. Strong steel build. Even the tube piping area that connects to the tube is solidly built, and the tube itself is of good quality. Yeah, it's of good quality. Now, over here they have the connectors, and obviously you have an input and an output, and you have the power input. Yeah, this pedal is run by an 18-volt adapter, not your standard 9-volt adapter, and it uses a fair bit of power. Understandable, because apart from the fact that it's running the effect, it also has a speaker that it needs to drive. Yeah, so there is a fair bit of power being used, and if you use an adapter for this, it must meet the minimal or the minimum standards required. Yeah, MXR suggests you use only their pedal, but you could use a different power adapter as long as it has 18 volts and it is a center negative connector. If you don't know what center negative is, go check it out, yeah. Or if you don't know what it means, go buy the original. And your adapter must be able to feed a good 1 amp, yeah. So if you buy an 18-volt adapter which is center negative and it only delivers half an amp or 500 milliamps, it won't be adequate for this adapter. If you can get an adapter that's 18 volts and can run 2 amps, that's more than required for the unit. That's okay. That's okay, yeah. A higher amperage just means that your adapter is able to deliver more power, more juice if it is required. Yeah. And chances are, even if you're driving your pedal hard, if you use a good adapter, then your adapter won't be running hot. Yeah, you'll be running well within its limits. Uh, I strongly suggest getting good power adapters because when the power fails, your unit fails. Yeah, and if you are a working musician doing live gigs, uh, you can't you can't really be sure that the venues that you're performing at have got really good clean power supplies. Yeah, sometimes the power tends to fluctuate, or god forbid you get power surges and stuff like that, so you need to always have standby spare power adapters for your effects units, and for units which are like a bit unique in their power requirements, like this one, 18 volts. It's not the common supply. Most guitar effects are only needing 9 volts, yeah, and center negative supply. So you might want to invest in an extra adapter for this unit and get a good adapter which can take even 2 amps. That way, if you are at some venue which is having, let's say, not optimum power supply, chances are your adapter might still survive. Yeah. um, and power adapters nowadays are becoming cheap. Yeah. They nowadays, a lot of them use what is called switching technology. So the power adapters are light, they can handle a bit more power output, and they are capable of providing clean power. Yeah. um, and they are inexpensive nowadays, so that's where we go. Yeah. All right. um, Tone controls wise, this is a very straightforward kind of a unit. Yeah. You have a volume. Hang on, let me see if I can turn this thing around so you can see what it says. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If assuming the lens can, the camera can focus on these things. Yeah. Hang on. Let me just carry it up and show you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you have a volume control, self-explanatory, a tone control, which gives you a more trebly kind of sound, or less trebly, depending on how you like it, and a gain control. Yeah. Um, so for the cleanest output, you would have a higher volume and not so high gain. But if you wanted a bit more driven kind of a sound, you could move your gain up. And what you have to do is, like, since you are performing, and basically when the unit is on, you are performing and using your microphone as the signal source for the audience to hear. Yeah. So they are going to hear whatever sound is coming out through the microphone. And what I do is, since I know that I'm going to be performing um, at different volume dynamics when I'm using this. For example, I'm using the talk box, it tends to be during a solo or stuff. I might want the sound of the guitar to be a little bit louder uh, when coming through the microphone, or I might want it to be a bit softer if the microphone is too sensitive. So that's where the volume control on the unit comes into play. Now, you yourself, when you are playing, when the unit is running, you might feel that it's loud because, God, the sound is coming directly at you. Yeah. But if your microphone has been set to only provide a soft vocal, signal out there, the audience is not going to hear it like you are hearing it. they are going to hear it, at whatever setting the sound engineer has set your microphone to. So when I do my sound check, I check the microphone for the vocals for when I'm singing, and then I check the sound for how it's going to be when I'm using the talk box. Then I have to set the talk box settings. Yeah, there is also a little bit of a trick that you can use, which is if you want to sound louder, you move in closer to the microphone, obvious, isn't it? And if you want to sound softer, you go a bit further away. So you can adjust the length of the tubing to be further away from the microphone or closer to the microphone. Just have a very short length, and that way your talk box sound is loud. It's really as loud as you can get. Um, there are benefits to having a short talk box tubing near your mouth if you're playing in a band. That way, your microphone doesn't have to be so sensitive. You are singing closer to the mic. There is less bleed coming in from other sources and other instruments, and so you hear your voice clearer. And with the short tube length, then you get um, a more direct, a more sort of like in your face sound from the talk box. If you put your tube too long and you're standing quite far away, even though your mouth is in the tube, but the sound has to bounce back from the back of your throat into the mic. There's a fair bit of distance, so a fair bit of volume is being lost when you are doing that. And so when you are playing, you got to be aware of that, right? Right, then here's another important thing for you to consider when you are using a talk tube. Not necessarily just this particular model, but any talk tube. Yeah. When you are setting the volumes of your talk tube, you want to avoid putting the volume that is coming out through the tube too loud. You need to control the volume, and this is because there's a fair bit of force coming through the tube in the form of air pressure. And if you are setting the volume too loud, when the tube goes into your mouth, the air pressure can be quite high. And if you are playing like, really hard and you're using perhaps an overdriven guitar with some distortion, there's a lot of vibration that is going on inside your mouth. And with too high a volume, you can hurt your teeth, especially if you have fillings or if you got like bad dentition. You can actually feel your teeth vibrating and it becomes painful. So uh, if you have poor dentition, you might want to reconsider whether you really want to use a talk tube or not, especially if you are one of these like rocking musicians who plays loud and he wants everything to be grinding and distorted. Yeah, because you can play your distortion guitar pedals and send the sound through the tube so it comes out somewhat like a distorted, and then still use your wah wah pedal as if sorry and still use your talk tube like a wah wah pedal, so you get a wah wah effect on a distorted guitar solo. But the problem is that the vibrations that are going into your mouth can really hurt your teeth. Best of luck to you. Then okay. Some things and comments about the unit itself. Yeah. Now, one absolutely brilliant thing about the unit is that the input output jacks and the power connections, they are all in at the back of the unit. Yeah, I mean, you are standing here facing the unit, your foot is pressing this, and you are in no danger of stomping and hitting the connectors. And this is much better than even having the inputs and outputs at the sides. Because if the inputs and outputs are at the sides, you are taking up a lot of acreage on the floor. And when you want to use other pedals as well, the other pedals have to be a fair bit away. Even if you have L-shaped connectors, um, you still have to consider that. So I love this, for a big, heavy, solid unit. I love the fact that the connectors are all further away and I can stomp away. I can stomp away. Now, um, problem, the problem. If you are a regular user of stomp boxes, you'll find that these buttons here, yeah, these buttons here, you have to sort of like stomp them. That's what they call them, stomp boxes. Yeah, hit them a bit accurately. But what if you are in a studio? Yeah, if you are in a doing a gig and you're wearing shoes and stuff, then this is a perfect, you know, rough usage kind of thing. But what if you are in a studio and you don't really want to wear boots and stuff like that? Like I live in Malaysia, and I'm in my studio now, and I don't wear shoes in my studio. Yeah, um, I might wear stockings, but I might be barefooted. And if you're barefooted and you hit this button, in fact, if you hit any one of your pedals, yeah, it can be a bit of a painful thing if you're doing it too often. Yeah, I am prone to arthritic problems, and so I find this to be a painful process. But that's not the fault of MXR. It's just the way the stomp buttons are. And the solution to this is simple. Yeah, it's really simple. Um, for every one of my effects pedals, you know, I just oops, sorry, I almost dropped this thing here. Let's fit this guy in again. Yeah, okay. For every one of my effects pedals, I buy these simple toppers. Yeah. So you can get a simple plastic topper and place it on the pedal. Now, I've topped the topper with a bit of felt. I've topped the topper with a bit of felt here so that there's a slight bit of cushioning effect. And then when I place it in, it's quite easy. Yeah, I can even do the stomping. I mean the pressing with my fingers, and I do this for practically all of the pedals that I have. Yeah, using a topper. If you have very sensitive feet, if you're like I don't know, you have got some deformed feet, and you're prone to arthritis, and it hurts. It really hurts a lot. Even if you're using shoes or slippers, what you can do is from the topper itself here, instead of using a bit of felt, you can get a soft, here we go. You can get one of these things. These are like soft gel things, which, you can use, or sometimes I use in walls to prevent the doorknob from banging against the wall. So it's a bit of a gel. And what you can do is just stick one onto a topper, stick the topper into the gadget, and then you use your feet or your hands or whatever, but pressing the foot switch now becomes a soft process, and you can do it barefooted and no problem. Yeah, you can probably notice from the video on the floor there, I have my looper pedal, and it has these toppers with a soft gel, on them. Um, a really, really cheap kind of a solution to to that problem with using foot switches. Yeah. Um, Now, the topper and those sticky gel things, I think they probably only cost about 50 cents US or $1 at the most. Yeah. Um, oh, by the way, the unit itself here costs now. I think it costs about US $200, brand new. You might be able to get it a little bit less from some dealers. Yeah, so it's not an ultra expensive unit. Okay, now that's about it. For the unit itself. Yeah, but I'd like to talk something about one big issue that I have with using the talk box. When you use it for the first time and once in a while, it's all good fun, yeah. Because it's like a gimmick. But if you start using it frequently and and try to incorporate it into your shows regularly, then you will find that the sound of the talk box becomes an integral part of your own sound. Each of us will find their own ways to express themselves using the talk box. And then you'll come to a stage where, if you don't have the talk box unit, you can't really enjoy your, performance, because it's an added kind of a sound. But the problem with this thing is that when you go to do a gig, you know, invariably there'll be people who've never seen this unit being used before. And invariably there'll be musicians who ask you, hey, what's that thing? And you talk to them about it, but they'll want to have a look at it. And not only do they want to have a look at it, can I try it? They'll ask you, can I try it? And I go like, it's not uh, an expensive unit, and it's not a unit that somebody could damage because, like I said, the unit itself is made like a tank. It's made of steel, and it's just a tube up here. Oh, they can't damage the tube, but if somebody is going to put his mouth on this tube and he's going to go wow 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 on it, and his saliva and his sputum, and if he's a smoker and if he's got a cough, all of those things are going to get into the tube, yeah. And then after that, you got to do your show. So I invariably have to tell people, no, I'm sorry, you can't use it because, like um, there's no way I can disinfect it after you use it, yeah. And people who use the talk box thing regularly very quickly begin to wonder, how on earth am I going to be able to clean this thing? You got to take a whole long tube and clean it, yeah. And I use this every day. And then, so I've come to the solution for this. And another problem is that at different gigs, you might be positioned a bit differently. Like when I'm doing live streams, I'm sitting, and I don't need such a long length of tubing. A shorter tubing would work for me. But when I'm doing live gigs and if I'm standing, then this unit could be on the floor, could be standing with a much taller microphone stand, and I need a longer tubing to be used. And then every time I, finish doing a gig, I have to obviously dismantle the equipment, tear it down, and then pack it again. So I always wonder, what happens, what happens, if the tubing begins to fail, or what happens if I just want to cut the tubing into a correct length. You could just use and coil the tube. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. See, I've got coils now here. Where are we? Let's just show the tubing. Yep. Okay, I've got coils where I just put the excess into coils and put them down. But can you imagine doing a live show with coils of tubing? Yeah, it's just not neat and not professional looking at all. So you want to have accurate lengths of this tubing. But but the tubings are expensive. Seriously, the tubings are expensive, and I don't mind paying paying for something which is expensive if it's like uh, inherently expensive. But Just how expensive can a length of this plastic PVC tubing thingy be? And living in Malaysia, if the only way I can get this tubing is I have to, none of the stores that sell this unit here sell you spare tubings. So I have to order a tubing from MXR or Jim Dunlop in the USA, and I have to spend a lot of money on shipping for a tubing, and the tubing itself is a bit is expensive. So, so I'm stuck with having one precious tubing, or okay, coughing out some money and buying another expensive spare tube to use. Yeah. Um, and I thought, why on earth, why on earth can't we just use any other tubing to replace this? And and I tried. So I've been to practically every hardware store around, trying to find tubes that can fit. And by trial and error, and also doing a bit of research, uh, I now have a few spare tubes, yeah, that I can make. And while an individual tube can last, having spares for me is important because I can then cut the tubes into different lengths, and I have a tubing now that I've made for when I'm standing and doing a show, a tubing for when I'm doing a shorter, when I need a shorter tube, and when I'm sitting down, and you can do it if you're a regular user of this, you can do it. Here we go. Look, I've got like different lengths of tubings that I've bought. Yeah. And then I just hang on. Where are we going there? Okay. Different lengths of tubing. And then I just connect them. Yeah. Cut and connect them. Now, the thing is, MXR in all their brilliance have the original tube that you get. This is the original tube that I'm using here. Um, where it fits into the unit. Okay, hang on. We're going to switch the camera view for this, yeah. Okay, where it fits into the unit is wider than where it comes out, yeah. So there's one outer tube, and then there is an inner tube. The outer tube fits in here correctly, and then the inner tube, um, is the one that leads out to your mouth. So you've got to try to find the correct dimensions of the tubes and find them. If you're lucky, you can get them. Otherwise, you can be a little bit creative, you know, and use a little bit of heat with a heat gun to expand a tube that you have that can work. But if you do buy tubes, just remember you have to buy tubes which are rated uh, food grade. In other words, they should be safe for for food grade fluids to go through. You don't want a tube which contains any toxic or harmful chemicals. That's a bit of research that you have to do. And apart from that, you should be good. Yeah, you can find descriptions of the sizes and diameters of the tubes involved. In fact, I may just sort of like post that into a slide in this video or at the bottom, of my description. So in case anybody wants to make their own tubes. Now, save the most important thing for last. Yeah, it's just one way to make sure that at least somebody listens to the most important thing in this description, and it is cleanliness and hygiene in maintenance in the tube, and why I don't share the tube. Yeah, because we don't want people's spit to get in, but your own saliva and sputum will begin to drip into this gradually, and then your tube will start becoming a little bit sticky. And oh, what are you gonna do? Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah. Uh, Now, you should regularly take out your tube and soak it in a mild detergent. That's sort of like washing the tube. But thinking in terms of practical use, the part of the tube that is going to be um, the most stained, you know, is the part near your mouth. If you notice this tube in here, it's a different color from the other parts of the tube. Yeah, so it probably has been stained a little bit, but in actual fact, this is not really just the stains. What I do is, oops, drop something on the floor. Hang on a minute. What I do is like, if this were to be the tube, yeah. See, we got to go here. All right, we got to remember my right and my left. If this were to be the tube that's heading towards my mouth, right? What I do is I buy different lengths or diameters of tubes, and I have a short piece. Uh, okay, I have a short piece here, which I use as connector. So I'll put the short piece at the end of my tube, and then I have what I call my mouthpiece. I have a mouthpiece which I'll connect here. So now I have a tube and I have a mouthpiece that I can use. And after every show, I remove the mouthpiece. Simple. I just remove the mouthpiece after every show, and then I soak it in detergent and I wash it, and then it's clean. And then it's clean, yeah? Now, when I go to do my shows, if if I meet up with a musician who is a friend and he really, really, really wants to try out the talk box, and I want to let him try it out, yeah, you know, I mean, you can't keep saying no to everybody, yeah, as long as it's not like some guy with a cough and it's not like some person with a, I don't know, foul breath or uh, he's got like nicotine just flowing out of his mouth. Then what I'll do is I'll take out one of my spare tubes, and I'll tell him that okay, I'll give you a little mouthpiece to try yourself, and then I'll fix it with a to my connector, and I'll change it. And so even here, hang on, let's go. Not this view. Okay, so even here, um, you'll notice this is the tube. Do I have? Oh. Okay, I have a connector here. Hang on. And I can remove the end of this, yeah. So and it's just connected here. So then I can remove this, take a spare one, and I'll fix it for the guy, and I'll say, okay, you can try it on, and I'll give you something like 2 minutes with it, you know. And at the end of the show, then I'll probably have to take the whole tube and disinfect it. But at least this part of it, I am not going to be putting into my mouth after he's used it. Yeah, once he's done with it, yeah, it goes with get him to sort of like soak it uh, in some strong alcohol or detergent. Another thing that is beneficial when you're using a short in length piece is that when you fix this thing here to your microphone, you might find that having a straight tube doesn't quite fit with your microphone. Like I've got an odd shaped microphone over here, and I need the tube to curve a little bit. So what you can do is if you have a heat gun or something that can blow hot air, you can actually blow hot air, hold this in a curved position, and you can get your tube to be a bit curved. So when you fix it to your connector, you can have the tube curve inwards towards your mouth, and then you are a bit more comfortable using it, or curved upwards depending on how you want to use it. Yeah. Hang on, let's just connect this guy again. Yep. So, I've got this now. This way, I could have turned the tube and got it pointing a little bit more upwards, but I don't want it to be pointing into, the top of my throat. I want it to be going here. And then you can use a bit of Velcro or whatever to hold it into a comfortable position. Then you sing and you use the top box. Yeah. So that's that. The safety and health and hygiene feature. And I haven't seen anybody else do this, yeah. But surely, I know I can't be the only one who's wondered about this. And it's easy. Yeah, you take it out, soak it in detergent. You can even get an old toothbrush, put it in, use some nice dental paste, scrub it, and get it nice and smelling like mint, stuff like that. All cool. Okay, folks, I am not sure how this video turns out, whether it's clear, not clear, or whatever. I'll review it, and if it does make it out to my YouTube thingy, uh, let me know what you think of the video itself or the points that I've made, and if you feel that there were things that were not expressed right or shown right, or could have been done better, let me know in your comments. Yeah. And subsequently, if I were to be putting up a video on a different piece of equipment, I could, do things a little bit better. Yeah. Thanks for watching, folks. Enjoy. Have a good music journey. Yeah, wherever you are. Cheers. Bye.